Welcome to the What If Podcast and our YouTube channel. Make sure you go right down to the bottom, click the subscribe button, and smash that like button. We need subscribers. A lot. We only have a few. We only have a few.
We like to keep it intimate here on
No.
this channel.
No.
Between me, myself, and I.
No.
That's the
So
most
I am
intimate
hoping
you
that
can get.
our guest inspirer today is
She's gonna
going
inspire.
to is it's what they're called, guest inspirers. Is going to just kick it.
So no pressure.
With
Okay.
with the social media. So flopping it on Instagram, boom. We're gonna have more
she's gonna-
subscribers than we know what to do with. And if we don't, it's all her fault.
It's all over, boys.
It's all over. Again, if you want to find out more about us, go to www.believeinthewhatif.webnode.com. Everything is there. Our Patreon is there. You can become a patron of our show for either $3 or $5 or $15. Man, $15, you get a big giant shout out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, $15, you can even come on the podcast.
Oh, wow.
That's a good deal.
I
You
didn't
didn't
know.
have to pay.
I didn't have. They just told me to
Yeah,
come.
you don't have to
Yes,
You
you
gotta
didn't
pay.
have to become a patron or anything.
Don't tell him that.
Oh, okay.
call that
I
the
had to pay
family
$15.
discount.
The What If Podcast is about inspiration, motivation, and education. If you haven't, also I want to tell you, if you haven't picked up the latest Janitor's Closet blog, it is up. It is entitled, Sometimes It's Not Just a Job. So go check that out at believeinthewhatif.webnode.com. And again, I want to encourage you to go down, boom, hit the subscribe button, and
It's down there.
like it. Today on the What If Podcast, I'm very excited. Jacob, you had made this recommendation, I think is what we want to say. That this
Depends
would
on
be
what I'm recommending.
this for this individual, our guest inspirer.
Oh yes.
We were thinking of people who inspire us and wondering what inspires them. And Jacob
and I
had
said, "It's your girl."
So we want to welcome Kaylee Peabody to the podcast. Transparency, Kaylee is my niece, Jacob's cousin, Zach's cousin-in-law.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
cousin. There's no real word for that.
It's a family thing.
Yeah.
It's a
Like
family
keeping the
thing.
family,
So Kaylee, welcome to the What If Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Make sure you talk up real loud because I'm deaf.
Okay.
And I can't hear. So again, for those who have never listened to the What If Podcast, we talk a lot about inspiration. Jake, what's been inspiring you this week?
Yo, I had a crazy big moment of inspiration that I didn't act. It was like one of those things where I was like, oh, this doesn't lead me to act anyway. It just leads me to see the world a little bit differently, or reminds me, right? We've had episodes about what inspiration is.
Mhm.
Anyway, and I'm going to ask you guys a question to start out because it's relevant. So like, it's Christmas time, right? Holidays time.
Is that a question?
No, I'm just saying.
Gotcha. It is. It's a
So
statement.
we're playing that at work, right? And that's going through. And so like what is your favorite Christmas song?
Ooh, that's tough. I don't know.
Can I make a confession?
Yes.
I hate
You're not-
Christmas music.
What is wrong with you? I mean, it's fine. You know what? That doesn't surprise me at all. But like, let's just pretend that you did. let's just pretend that you weren't such a damn
It would have been easier if you'd have said Christmas movie. Christmas song, man, I don't know.
Okay.
You can never
Okay.
go
Let's.
wrong
I'll
with
answer the song.
Mariah.
I actually do know my favorite Christmas song though.
What is it?
Because there's one that I like. It's the one that goes, "Mary, Did You Know?" Is that the title?
yeah.
That's the name
called
of it.
Mary
Mary
Did
Did
Well,
You Know
boom.
is a good one.
There's the
That's a good
title.
That counts. Hey, that's it, man. Grinch status revoked.
I am going to go with I'm going to go with. I can't think of the name of it.
Just start singing it, and then
Keep
maybe.
going, Kaylee. You go.
More than
I'm
likely
trying
the
to
name
think.
will-
You
Come
can never
into it.
go wrong with Mariah. Just
Yes,
saying.
I
You
know
what I
that
mean?
went through my head.
You can never go
went
wrong.
through
Want a lot for Christmas. Oh, of
What
course.
is
Probably the
the
best
one-
one out there.
What is the one that talks about? This is what my Christmas list, my grown-up Christmas
Yeah,
list.
grown up Christmas.
That's
list.
what it is.
Okay.
I like that.
I like
that.
Keep It Simple. I like
Jingle bells.
Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Okay.
I like that
So
one.
now that
Okay.
we've gotten through that, the point of your story.
So now that we've gotten through that, and that was just kind of for me. So I'm listening to this Christmas music that somebody's playing at the Sniff, right? The place where I worked. And it just struck me because I'm 25 of a certain generation. One of the therapists is in their late 40s, okay, of another generation. And then the person that is sitting there with us is in their late 70s, okay? So we've got these three generations, and a Christmas song comes on, and it's like of an older Christmas song. It might have been Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, maybe. And it just struck me in that moment that all three of us knew the words perfectly to that song. And all three of us have memories associated with Christmas music. And it was just a very beautiful moment of a song or something that causes us to have a certain feeling generated around this holiday, right? This time
Yeah.
of year. And all three of us have experienced that in the walks of life that we're all in right now. And that was just kind of a cool thing, how a 70-year-old, a 40-year-old, and a 20-something-year-old all felt the same thing at the same time because of a song. I thought that was neat. That was my moment of inspiration this week.
All right. Zach, are you been inspired this week?
Ooh. I was quickly trying to gather my thoughts in my quick 30 seconds while he was talking.
Did you not think I was going to ask you how you were inspired this week?
What did you
Well-
think was going to happen?
You know, I knew it was coming, but,
I guess I can say I was inspired.
What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, I was inspired to remember, I don't know, the power of music. I don't know what I was
Power
really
of
inspired
love.
about, but it was cool.
Were you inspired? Maybe you weren't inspired, Zach.
well, I mean, I guess I'm still
You're still
Stuck
hung
in the
up on that
mindset
word,
of-
aren't you?
kind of, or just that, inspiration usually leads to change and, something,
Okay.
I have fond moments that happen throughout the week.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. I guess maybe I just don't live an inspired life.
It could be. It could be.
I mean,
Yeah, it seems about right.
to to truly be inspired.
Let
you
me
know,
ask you this: did you experience a moment of surprise?
of surprise.
Yeah. When something that you thought was going to go a certain way didn't, and you were pleasantly surprised about that.
I was pleasantly surprised that my daughter did not fight going to when I told her to go to the bathroom.
Hey,
Hey,
there you go.
That was a big deal.
Boom.
She didn't
Boom.
fight
Big
it. She just went.
How about you, Kaylee?
Oh,
Any
gosh.
inspiration this week in school? Did a teacher inspire you? Were you set ablaze by academia or anything like that?
Or literally, were you literally set ablaze?
Maybe. I don't know.
I would think that's something you would notice.
I hope that doesn't happen. But, just school finals and everything.
Oh, you got finals coming up. I shouldn't have asked you about being inspired.
It's a tough
Yeah.
time to be
Well-
inspired, man.
I have an art final, and, art is
Yeah?
something I'm inspired by.
Oh, you have
I
an art
guess.
final?
Yeah, I'm working on the pottery. wheel.
You gotta lean forward so people can
Yeah,
see.
I'm working on the pottery wheel, so like I get to like do stuff, and it was kind of cool this week. I threw a pot, and then
At
my
who?
art. No, like I on the wheel.
Oh, it's
That's
Like
what
I-
we call it. You
that's what
throw.
it's
I was
called.
thinking the
You
same
throw
thing.
it.
Like, what does that mean?
I was like, wow, that's
I
not good,
threw it,
Kaylee.
and my art teacher sat down to look at it, and the ag teacher came in, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Man, isn't it doesn't it suck when your teacher just like throws it real quick and it looks really nice, and you
Yeah.
wish you could do that?" And I was like, "I threw it."
Oh,
And
really?
he was like, "Wow, so that's like something." And they talked to me about going to school for art, which is something I never thought about. So that's kind of
Really?
inspiring.
So, out of those things, do you like pottery, art, as in drawing? What else is there in art?
I don't know.
Is there anything
Just
else
those
in
two
art? I
things.
don't
Music?
even-
Just pottery
it's just
and
those
art.
things,
That's
isn't
it.
it?
I like
I mean, like,
creating
music
things.
is
like,
art?
I like sculpting.
Yes.
Movies are art.
And we should be transparent about this, and we should really put this up. That our niece, my niece Kaylee, you are the grand champion of the Arkansas Valley Fair for how many years now?
5.
5
Like-
years, grand
like
champion in
16
the
years
category of
Dry brushing, right?
what do you do? Oh, ceramics, right?
Ceramics, yeah.
Ceramics and
I'm a 2-time state fair champion too.
2-time state fair champion in ceramics. So it isn't like art just came up on you. This was something that
She knows what the F she's doing.
Yeah.
So-
Nobody
In
knows.
case you didn't know, she's kind of a big deal.
you weren't. Yeah,
No.
you weren't. You just painted them before, but now in high school you are throwing these things.
hmm
So what did you throw?
I made a bowl. Like I just.
A bowl, like
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
So
It's
is that something that was easy for you or hard
No.
for you? So you take the clay, boom. I'm thinking of Ghost. That's all I can remember. Demi Moore and
Why do we
Patrick
always
Swayze.
think of
He brought
ghosts?
that up
Why is
today.
that?
What's that?
He brought that up today.
Absolutely. That's
It's a
because
strange thing.
why
I don't want
wouldn't
to
you
ever
think
see
of
that
that?
in a high school setting at all. That scene. I don't. That scene makes me so uncomfortable. It's so weird.
that's the thing.
I don't
Zach
want no
has-
ghost hands on my hands making
Zach
a pot
has
with me.
no idea what we're talking
Nope.
about. I can
I
tell
don't want
by
that.
his blank powder look.
He's,
I can tell he has no idea what we're talking about.
Kaylee, you said something so cool. So you said art inspires you, and that's super cool. And then you said creating inspires you. So I guess my question is it more of the creating art that inspires you, being creative, or like is it like how some people can look at art and take in art and be inspired by it, or do you do both?
I think it's the creative side, because I grew up in a family where like everybody's creative in their own different way. So when it comes to like creating things or creativity, I take a really big part in that, in making things unique as much as I can.
Not to mention her 3-time run at the pumpkin carving contest.
Yeah, 3 years.
The
Yeah, thank
annual
God.
family pumpkin carve.
I'm
So
unstoppable now.
Kaylee is full. She is full of these
Talented, bro.
creative juices. So, have you always been crafty, or is this something that, like, has come upon you that suddenly you grew into your creativity?
I think I've always been crafty, but I didn't it changed throughout as I got older. Like, we all do arts and crafts when we're little and stuff. But,
Yeah.
As I got older, it turned into I don't know. Like I realized I could do a lot more and you could express yourself through the things that you create and show your views on everything if you just be creative and stuff.
I want to make one point here that I'm just noticing the camera here. I've got, obviously duct tape around my finger. Just want to do a little explanation here. In
I didn't even
putting
see
the
that,
set up, I came off of a screw and took the drill right into my finger. And not
Boy.
wanting to go in to get a
Oh.
Band-Aid, I just grabbed the duct tape. So
And in that moment, I was so inspired to never do that again.
Okay.
I say that because a lot of times I watch podcasts or something, I have people talking, and all of a sudden you get so enamored and so
Like, what's going
distracted
on with
by the
his
dude's finger because he's got duct tape on it. Anyway, that's it. Kayla, you said something interesting, and I think that you probably would have to you would have to take Zach and I out of it, disqualify us. You said that we're full of a family that's very creative. I don't consider myself. Zach, do you consider yourself creative?
Not at all.
I think
Not
you
at
guys
all.
Are.
I don't consider Zach
This
to
is
be creative.
creative.
I don't. Maybe this is creative, and if it is, then
Yeah.
Zach, we are creative. Besides this, I have trouble with everything else, and it amazes me how you can do some of the things that you do. Especially one of the things that you do, and it's very creative, but it's also it got some technology in it. You're very good at the cricket.
Yeah, I
And-
like to cricket stuff.
Yes, you're very good at cricket. Not the sport, but the little thing on the computer to make things. A lot of creativity goes into that, and I think about that as far as inspiring. So, you said that you threw a pot, and I have heard this before, and I'm going to ask you when it comes to, and maybe ceramics it counts. I don't know. But I've often heard this, and tell me, Zach and Jake, if you've heard this before, the whole idea of, they were talking about Michelangelo carving the David. I hate this, that my little system is low, and it's just so, and I get this little thing. Michelangelo creating David, do you know what I'm talking about? David, he's the guy statue that's sitting there, Michelangelo carved him. And they had said once before, where did Michelangelo get the inspiration to do that? And the whole thing was he didn't. He just saw it in there and carved away everything that wasn't it. And what he was left with was David. This inspiration was he could look at this slab of, what is it made out of, granite or limestone?
I think it's marble.
Marble.
I could be totally wrong.
This block of marble. So he looks
sound
at
very
this
confident
block
answer,
of
though.
marble,
Yeah.
and he sees this David in it. Now all I have to do is just peel away the things that aren't in that. When you're thinking about ceramics, at some point in time you got to paint it. That's what dry brushing is, right? And there isn't some color coding. This isn't a paint by number thing, right?
No, sometimes there's inspiration pictures, but I usually change the colors around a lot of it.
Okay, so that's it. I'm getting to the point that I think Zach and I don't have. I hate to speak for you, but I think I'm on solid ground.
I'm rather with you.
I'm not. You look at it and you think this thing has to have color. How do you get inspired then? That's how I've always wondered about something like that. When people look at it and said, "Oh, this needs to be blue." Well, why can't it be green? Well, why would it be green? That's stupid. Now I'm just channeling my
Some
wife.
colors just
That's what it
fit.
is. Why would you think that would be green? How do people do that?
I don't know. Like, I think some people just have
Well,
the
you
eye
do
full.
it. So how do you decide?
Some
Does
people
it
just
like
have the
a-
eye, I guess.
I
Like,
guess. I mean, do you just sit there and look at it until you get butterflies in your stomach? You're like, oh, that's the color.
no. No, I have all my paints and I look at it and I'm just like, like what colors? First I pick the colors that I think will go together and then I find a place to put the colors.
Okay.
So
Okay.
So like when I
See-
did a dragon.
I would need paint by numbers. I would be like, the hat is red. Just paint it red.
Sometimes I need help like that, but
Really?
yeah.
I don't think the reason I bring that up is because it's Christmas, and last Christmas, I bought my wife she had said that she wanted it. I bought her a watercolor set.
Oh yeah.
Last week, she opened it up.
For the first time?
Oh no.
And
That's
was
rough,
like, and
dog.
did incredible. She's always said, I just want to be inspired to do watercolors. And I'm thinking, it's been 51 weeks. Or
Counts.
50 weeks. Get inspired. But I think that's an interesting thing, the whole idea of art. To be artistic. Now, I would say, Zach, we're not creative. Are we artistic? Is that different?
I would say it's the other way around. I think
We're
I
not
think that you're
artistic, we're creative.
Yes.
but not artistic. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, it depends on the situation.
Thanks.
That could be creative in like solutions.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes, yeah.
and I like if anything art related, I'm like lost, and
Okay.
Yeah.
my
So-
5-year-old is way better artist than I am currently.
So we're creative, but we're not artistic.
Yeah, like when it comes to like words, Uncle Deke is so
Yeah.
creative. He can come up with any like.
Yeah, I
like-
can do that. So,
anything.
yeah, but I can't unless you're talking about are things like poetry. Is that artistic? What is artistic?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. I think, yeah, I think what you're struggling with that is like
I'm
the
not
idea of
crafty.
like, yeah, maybe the idea of like you're not good at a certain medium of art,
Oh,
right?
There you go. Yeah.
Like-
Like
Well,
writing is a art form,
Okay,
right? There's
I
art
can-
in
I can do
everything.
that.
there's so
I can
many
do
types
that.
of different artists. There's music artists. There's so you know.
So let's nail this down. What am I not? What am I not good at then?
You're not good at painting and drawing and sculpting,
I don't think I've ever seen him paint and draw.
and
so-
neither am I.
right. I
Neither
can't
am
do
I.
that.
I think the question that's begged to be asked is like, I don't know, like at the core of someone who's artistic, and so Kaylee, you're very artistic and creative. And I think all of us are creative to a degree. Like, I think I'm just trying to find out what is that, you know, like
Where does it come from?
where does it come from, and that goes into inspiration and things like that. But after you're done creating whatever you've created, what is that feeling that is there, do you think, Kaylee? Like what, because if there isn't, obviously you wouldn't want to do it, right? If you didn't feel a powerful feeling or connection to it. So yeah, I guess what is that? I think we all have our own idea of what that is after we have created something, put something into the world of ourselves into the world, right?
Yeah.
What, can you describe the feeling that you have?
I think it's a feeling of like being accomplished at something. Like you feel like, cause like it's not easy. You get really frustrated through the whole thing, and you just like there's multiple times where I've been like, oh, I'm not gonna do this again.
And
then
yet
I
you
do-
always come back and,
I do it. But like, and then when I'm all done and people just talk about how much they love it, you just feel accomplished with yourself. That like you worked through it, you finished, and you created something really beautiful.
Yeah. Zach, do you ever feel like that in your equations? You're like, dude, I did it.
You know, in your math dungeon where you just spend all the time
Do
writing
you,
on a
ever,
blackboard.
do you ever just sit back and get a big grin on your face and go, look
And
at
you
that
say,
freaking algorithm. I did it.
E equals MC squared.
I did it.
I think a lot of the that feeling of accomplishment really only comes when you have to kind of fight for it and you have to struggle through it. Like if I am doing a hard math problem and I have to spend time with it, got to look up some things because I forgot or something, and I come to the right answer and it comes out right. There's a sense of joy to that.
Yeah.
Where if I answer 2 + 2 = 4.
Sorry, I was looking out the window.
Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think when you can persevere and you can work through something, and you're trying to reach a goal, whether that's pottery or in my case engineering, or
I don't
maybe
do anything.
a
so,
sermon,
yeah. Yeah.
or speech, or
Yeah.
whatever you
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
working towards. Once you finally come through with something that you've struggled with, I think that's where you feel your accomplishment, and you get a satisfied feeling from being victorious through your struggles,
Yes.
which inspires you to continue doing that kind of thing.
I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute.
Is it possible to, I'm just going to keep on with Kaylee's just because I really like it. Just like, is it possible to create something, a piece of pottery or of art, or even like baking, because I know you love to do that, and cooking and things like that. Like, is it possible to go through that experience and create something freaking terrible and still have that feeling?
Yeah, that actually happened to me today.
Okay.
I was throwing on the wheel, and I just one little thing messes up, and the whole thing will fold in. It's like you struggle and struggle, and then you like actually get a bowl you like, and then you cut it. And I shaped it up, and I was like, man, this looks really bad.
So like, I think that's a good point though. Like, so you in your creative process and in your inspiration is failure a lot of the time, right? And
Yeah.
that's like everybody has that,
But-
but it hasn't kept you. I think what I'm getting at is your inspiration and your love of something is more than the frustration of the failure
Yeah.
that happens,
Yeah.
right?
I just got to keep thinking like this will eventually look like that, you know? If you just keep trying,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you just think about the ones you did succeed on as much as you can so that way you can get past the ones that you're not doing good on or failing.
Here's an even I don't know why I'm going down this road. If you never succeeded at making the thing that you wanted to make, would you still love making? I think that is the question I'm trying to get at. If you never succeeded at
What if
making
you were, yeah, what if you were like never a grand champion? You're like always like 7th place.
I think I would still be doing it because there's always chance for you to get better, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't
But
know.
what if like after 3 years you were like still 7th? You're like, hey, you're
There's
not
no
getting
right
better.
answer to it at
You
all.
drop down to
Yeah.
10th.
It depends if you like love doing it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. Sometimes the outcome isn't really what you want. Some people like to just the process of doing things makes them feel better or whatever. You know. So I guess
Is that
it
true for you?
depends. Yeah.
That's interesting, and I'm wondering if that's a young viewpoint. In other words,
You
that's a
never
sense-
do anything just
No,
for the process of doing. I've never
I-
done it. Okay.
You-
yeah,
I
that's
think
fair.
it's you haven't lived long enough to fail enough.
That's
I
fair.
think, I gave a speech one time at a baccalaureate. Baccalaureates are what churches hold for graduating classes. I did one at Los Animas, and I thought this would be my last one because it wasn't exactly probably what everybody wanted to hear. It was the idea that you don't get to be whatever you want to be. That's what I told the graduating class. Everybody tells you that as you're growing up. You can be whatever you want to be. That's a lie. I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. That didn't happen. Somebody lied to me. It just didn't, but there is that sense that Kaylee's talking about, that idea of, I wonder if young people are more resilient to say, oh, I failed. Oh, that bowl looks like crap. Oh, here we go again. I keep going until I finally find this idea of, there's what I want. And I'm wondering, as adults, I'm thinking of your mother, Jake. When it comes to
It's fine.
technology,
She doesn't watch this
doesn't
podcast.
really have to do with inspiration, but it comes with technology. 2 tries on the computer. If it doesn't work, I'm done. That's it.
That's how
I'm
I
going
am.
back to a piece of, it's like, forget it. I'm finished. I'm wondering if we become less resilient as we get older, that says, I'll give it a shot once. And that didn't work out. I'm done. Whereas a 16-year-old can say, oh, that didn't work. I'm going to try it again. And the difference that we see is through that, whatever you want to call it, sooner or later, success is found. Whereas with adults, we just check it off on our list of things we can't do. I'm going to try and draw a person. Oh, that's the ugliest thing I've ever done. I'm never going to do that again. We've got to check that off the list. Can't draw. I'm wondering if what is the magic ingredient? And I'm wondering if it is it, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Or maybe that's not true. I don't know. What do you think?
I think a lot of it is probably just the amount of opportunities are less. Because when you're young and all the way up to high school through college, you've got a lot of time to do things.
Yes, you do.
And as you get older and older, you have more responsibilities, and I think I think we just have less opportunities to, I guess, keep expanding. Where as you have time to learn sports, you have time to still grow in a lot of different ways that you want to.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to be old people,
You're really only good at one or two things.
you've kind of found out what you're good at.
Yeah, yeah, and what you're not. And I think that's what it is. And there's not a lot of time. You got to concentrate on the things that I can do. And I don't know if it falls under you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or that the dog doesn't want to learn new tricks. But
I think it's the latter on that.
I think it is. I'm just thinking about trying to think back, and I can't remember the excitement of inspiration and motivation of the number of things you could do, the possibilities that lie ahead of you, all of those things which Kaylee has as a 16-year-old. The world is my oyster. I may not be able to do whatever I want to do, but I sure probably can do what I would like to do. And then you get older and you have kids and you're just tired. and then inspiration that is followed up by motivation, I think, is harder to find. And I think we disguise it under a number of things. I think as a 16-year-old, we call it being inspired. As we get older, we call it purpose. What's my purpose in life? Because I think there's more of a sense of urgency to that. I got to find my purpose because I don't have much time left. Kaylee's like, I'm going to explore all of these things because I'm going to throw this thing on this pot. I'm going to dry brush a gnome and win grand champion at whatever. I'm going to play tennis. I'm going to do this type of thing. And I don't know if it's easier because you're young and harder because you're old. But I've noticed that. And so I think the inspiration followed by motivation is tougher as you get older and then makes us yearn for this
Right.
16-year-old mentality.
I think, and again, it's hard because of a lot of perspective because we're all coming from different ages and experiences too. But
We're spending like 5 decades here, right?
Five.
I mean, teens, 20s, 30s, 50s, right?
I guess so.
I mean, we're
5
all-
decades. I was thinking generations. Yeah, no, decades. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think you're right in that sense, Dad. So moving into like the practical approach, like a lot of people, tons of people would totally agree with what you're saying because they've felt that and experienced that. And I'm almost wondering if if there is something that we can do, if there are practices that we can do to have our inspirational moments and to be able to see beauty in certain things without the stimulus being so like harsh, like how what you were saying was like,
Yeah.
as you get older, it's harder to get inspired by things because you have all of these other things you have to worry about. So the stimulus has to be really, really
Right.
large, like somebody in my, like a death in the family, like, something like that. Like
Right.
now I am inspired in this whole new way to change my life and live my life like this.
Right.
Right. Like that's a pretty tough stimulus. Whereas like, I don't know. I always come on and say like, I was inspired by Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
No,
Like,
I think that's
like,
interesting because I think it's
can
really
we do
is.
something about that?
I think it really is a difference of what we're talking about and what Zach said, the idea of being inspired and motivated to change. Can those two things exist separately? So in other words, the inspiration is the happy little smile that you get, the little thing
Sure.
in your stomach, the sense of beauty that you talk about, the idea of accomplishment that Kaylee talks about. Can it be that for just a moment without this motivation to change? In other words, so maybe the word isn't inspire, maybe the word is, where did you see beauty today? Or where did you, I don't know what it is, or not so much that it caused you to stop everything that you're doing and
Right.
change your life completely, but just maybe to look at the world just a little bit different and perhaps say, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Right. And I think that maybe
Those little things.
I'm being an optimist here, but I think maybe that over time, built up over time, might protect against that hard shell that starts to grow.
Yeah. The idea of, we're not called crusty old men for nothing. There's a
Right.
crust. There is that shell that builds up that says.
Do you think? Sorry, Dad. Keep
Go
going.
ahead. No, that's fine. I'm just wondering. I'm noticing such a difference between the sense of wonderment and the sense of accomplishment, the sense of inspiration that is alive once again in this 16-year-old as compared to a 50-year-old.
Yeah, and it's fair to say
it's nice to see. I get inspired by looking at Kaylee's life and
Yeah.
saying, "Look what she's doing," and I get inspired by other people's lives.
yeah, and like all of those things are totally fair. Like everybody has had experiences that build up over time and are part of making us who we are, and that's totally fair. I'm not saying that that's an easy thing to just be like, well, just get over it, but like, yeah, this idea, I think I'm still thinking about being creative. Do you think that creativity could have some a part
Yes.
to play
I do.
in our inspiration?
I
And
do.
how so? And as we've already talked about it a little bit, but like you take the crusty old man,
Uh-huh.
right, and you start to be, and that crusty old man starts to be creative,
I
even
think,
if they're
I think
not
that's
inspired.
a huge difference. I think
They
that does make a huge difference.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the little thing came out. I'm not sure if it did or not.
Can one
can
be
hear you.
crusty and creative at the same time?
Well, I think a lot of it depends. I was just kind of thinking.
Oops.
I think my inspirations just have. I guess they've narrowed. I was trying to think of like what
That's fair to be honest about.
am I being inspired in, what am I trying to change in my life currently? And I was thinking, I own a home now, and I want to be better at fixing things at home. I'm inspired to be a better homeowner, and I guess a husband at the same time. I'm inspired to keep learning how to be a better father. I think as situations in our life are going, I think we always have a direction that we're trying to move and something that we're looking forward towards. And, as mine are very narrow, involving my kids and my home, and, I'm not looking for a lot of inspiration outside of that typically.
Yeah. Well, you got to think, that's not a bad thing either.
No.
Right? Like narrow doesn't mean shallow,
Yes.
right?
It's a lot more focused at this
Yeah.
stage of my life, I would say.
And I would agree with you because I can tell you from experience that the lack of those inspirations in your life, that's when the crust starts to grow. When you look and you say, I don't have an avenue. I can't, or I do have an avenue. I just don't see it. Or maybe I'm too tired to look for it, or whatever. And I think that's the number one thing that can drag you down is when you don't have a sense of purpose, when you don't have a sense of inspiration, or when you look at it and say, I would really like to do that, but I don't see how I can do it.
Yeah.
It's funny because that's what you would expect to hear from a 16-year-old. And so it's that circle of life that we're back in diapers again.
Do we ever really grow up?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Do you see that, Kaylee, in a lot of juniors in high school? Would you say that the majority of high school students are inspired and are looking for avenues of expression were you just like, I'm just trying to get through the day?
I think I would say it's like half and half.
Half
you know,
and-
you have your ones that, you know, they're exploring all the sports and they want to do better in their sports. And then, you know, I feel like our school gives us a good opportunity of different fields we can explore really young, you know. So I think kids have a lot of creative freedom and they show it.
And they show it?
But then you always have those ones that,
Yeah.
that don't want to.
Sure.
Yeah,
I feel
and
like-
they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Which I feel like I could find the creative side of people, I think, even when they feel like they don't have it.
Yeah.
Everybody has a little bit of it. But I think
And so
I think we do.
what stifles that then? What do kids go through? Or why do some have it and some don't? I guess that's the question. Is it a magic thing? And maybe there isn't an answer for it. I don't have an answer for it.
I don't know.
I could,
Probably
you know,
just the way they grew up, maybe. They weren't allowed to express their creative freedom.
had to grow up too
And so
quickly
now,
or
yeah. And so now they don't know how to, or they're still trying to figure out how to express that freedom. Maybe it doesn't come till they're older. But
because I think
don't
it's
know.
important to see how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like it can turn an old man crusty, it can turn a young kid crusty or
Mm-hmm.
in another direction. This idea of saying, and I don't even think I think what we did a long time ago, at least when I was growing up, was we took kids and we took them in the wrong direction in saying, let's find out what you're good at. And let's go that way. Instead of saying when they're young, what is it that you're interested in? Because as you get older, you have to go down what you're good at, not what you're interested in, right?
yeah.
I mean, you're like, okay, this is what you're good at. Dude, you can weld. This is what you need to do. It doesn't mean that you can't write poetry on the side, but these are the things that you're good at. And I understand that you'd rather do this, but you know, I think it was Andy Andrews who said that one time in a presentation that he was going, that we do that all the time. We tell our kids, oh, you can be whatever you want to be. And then when they get to be about 20, 25 years old, you're like, hey, you know, maybe we should lower expectations a little bit because you're just not, you know, don't go that way. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna. I don't think you're gonna do that well that way. So I'm just wondering, is that something? As you get into now your 50s and everything, and you're trying to find this inspiration, do you go back to then, hey, what do I enjoy? Because I think a lot of people will say, and Zach is kind of, I think you're kind of in that area right now. You know, I quote movies a lot. But Jake, I think about The Patriot.
Yeah.
When he's given that speech, where he says, what about your principles? He says, I'm a parent. I don't have the luxury of
I
principles.
don't have the luxury of
And I'm
principles.
thinking right now, as a parent of two young kids, you know, this idea of I don't have time to do what I'm interested in. I have to do what I'm good at. I have to do what I have to do. And is that something? I think if we wanted to, we could find an excuse or a reason all through our 10, 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s that would say, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do, you know, because I think it is that big circle of young to old. Jake, you work a lot with geriatrics, that idea of circle of life where old people, babies get bigger and then they finally get old and they become babies again. I'm back to a 16-year-old, not Kaylee, but that 16-year-old that's saying, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I'm good at. What are you interested in? I don't know.
I think part of what we want to do on this podcast is to leave room for all of those places, right? For anybody who is listening, like we just ran the gamut of like 5 decades worth of stuff in different places where people are, and it's just okay to be in those places, right?
Sure.
Right?
It is.
It's okay if you find yourself there.
Yes, but how then, when you are ready, I guess the question for me is then how then do you move on? Because
Right.
the same answer for a 16-year-old has to be the same answer for a 30-year-old, doesn't it? Has to be the same answer for a 50-year-old. It can't be situational. It has to be universal, doesn't it? That how do you find inspiration? How do you find, or how do you get to the point that you can say, you know what, I'm going to try something that I'm interested
Where
in?
you turn inspiration into motivation.
I think
Maybe.
no, I think that when your level, I think maybe we're getting close. When your level of, I don't want to use this word, but I think I might. When your level of desperation
Yeah.
increases above the level of fear,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
maybe better yet, I don't like the word desperation, but there is a element of desperation in each of those things, right? Like as a 16-year-old, like we're desperate to like find ourselves, and we're desperate to create and explore. We're desperate. We'll do anything to do it.
To
right?
achieve, to do well.
Yes, we'll do anything for it. And I'm so desperate. I think my soul wants it so much. It jumps over my level of fear that's there of stepping out, right? As a 30-year-old, like I'm, as a 30-something-year-old with two kids, like, shoot, I'm desperate to want to provide an amazing life for them, and to also get some freaking sleep, like to live an amazing life for myself too, because I know like you want that too, Zach. Like, there's still part of you that wants that, obviously, like, but you're an amazing man and you want to sacrifice for your kids, and that's fantastic. Right. But there's still part of you that wants that as well, and so like,
and
as we become more desperate for those things, our fear takes a wayside. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and I wouldn't really look at it as like necessarily sacrificing, like my sacrificing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would hope that all fathers, that is what, when they, when you truly love someone or something that, you want to, make those situations as best as they can, and you want to, be the best as you can, and you learn, and you have regrets, and you move on, and you learn from those, and get inspired to keep improving and moving in different directions. And I'm sure when my kids are older, I'll have more inspirations to maybe be more self-focused, or whatever it may be, but
I think you're exactly right. It brings up something that you can be a fan of or not a fan of Mike Rowe. You can agree with him, not agree with him. You can like Dirty Jobs, not like Dirty Jobs. And you can like the whole idea of his Mike Rowe's Foundation. But one of the things that he has this sweat pledge, and I think one of the things that he asks his scholarship recipients to do is, I think, a good example of something that younger people are not good at, maybe older people are not good at either, but that you're talking about with the whole idea to say that you're sacrificing for your children. And it's this. I would say that because of Zach's love for his family, sacrifice feels like contentment. And the word that Mike Rowe uses is delayed gratification. The idea that says, at this particular time, I know what I need to do to make sure that my family succeeds. And I'm willing to put off what I need until later, because it's coming. I'm willing to do that. 16-year-olds aren't always good at that. I want it now. I want it, and adults, yes, adults are like that too sometimes. There is this idea of contentment. Let me do this in the few minutes that we have left. I want to, if I were to say that to the three of you, there's no financial restrictions. That's the best one to start with. Doesn't matter about finances, okay? Don't say, well, I can't do that because I got to pay the bills. Throw that out the window. There's no ramifications of financial. There's no ramifications of either any preconceived or preset ideas. If you could do right now at your age, 16, 20s, 30s, teens, 20s, 30s, what would be the one thing that you would want to do right now? And yours could be a little bit, okay, I want to do this when I'm graduated from high school, or I want to do this out of college. This is what I want to be.
Is it one thing I would like to do, or I would like to do with my life?
If you could snap your fingers and be whatever you wanted to be,
Okay.
what would it be? Or do whatever you wanted to do. Not like I want to be a bank robber. Now, if that's what you want to be, it is not, I'm not asking
If
for
you can
things
get
like
away
I would
with
want to
it.
be. I don't want any clever responses like, oh, I'd
I
want to be
know.
invisible, or anything like that. Just say, deep down inside, there's a desire that maybe Zach wants to be a ballerina. I'm saying probably not,
He
but maybe
might.
deep down inside, there's this hidden little thing that says, I want to be a ballet. I don't want to put that in your. But what would it be? Whoever's got something, just start. Is there something that says, this is what I would want to be?
So this is probably going to be pretty dumb, but
No, it can't be. If this is what you want, if you were to say, this is what I like this.
I don't know if it's a real dream or just something I like to think about. But
Okay.
I would love to be just like an old-fashioned weapons expert.
Oh,
Just,
okay.
like I want to be like an expert axe thrower, spear thrower.
That's cool.
Maybe some nunchucks in there
I
somewhere.
was not expecting.
And
it.
and would you have a store that people came to you because you're the expert? You'd be like, "This is the nunchucks you want."
No, I don't need anyone else to.
You just want the knowledge.
I don't need anyone's
I just-
validation. I don't need any of
I don't
that.
need validation.
I just
Because
want.
I know deep down
that I know.
that I am the weapons expert. that
I'm just
I
a
know
dang
it.
cool guy. You can do some cool things.
Okay, that's what
could
that's what I'm
defend.
talking about. So then I'll stop with that and then ask the question: why aren't you that? If that's what you really want, why aren't you that?
Because there's no money in that.
Exactly. There's no. I can't see that.
There's forever this
That
tension.
is delayed gratification.
Yeah.
That is saying I can't do what I really want to do because I have to do some other things to make sure that my family can do what they want to do. Doesn't mean that when they're grown up and gone to college, I'm off to weapons school or whatever.
And I don't think that inspiration is always purely self-motivated.
No.
You know
No.
what I mean?
No. What about you, Jake? What would you do?
Yeah.
What would you be?
I-
What would you do?
This occupation does not exist, but that's fine. Because
That's
it's
okay. I don't think expert
hypothetical.
weapons. Well, I think it probably does exist.
pretty close.
Yeah.
Zach could do it. I would love to be isn't it funny how when you and Zach said it too, it sounds silly.
Yes.
It does because it doesn't exist, but it makes all the sense to who you are in your heart. I would
Yep.
love to be somebody I would love to go around to different cities and kind of like get to know them for a short time and then be like a tour guide for fun things in the city. I would
That's
like
so much
People make
fun.
tons of money off YouTube channels doing exactly
that's
that.
kind of the thing, but it would be like, hey, like a group of like 6 people, like, hey man, show me a fun day in this city.
Boom.
And then
Gotcha.
we would do it. That is all that is exactly what I what I would want to do. And then I would do that for a little while and I go to another city. And I
Tour
learn that-
guides do that all the time when you're hunting. I mean, hunting guides do it all the time.
That'd
I
be
know
so
this
much
place
fun.
so well. Take me to the places where I'm going to get birds. I'm going to get a zebra, whatever.
Right.
Boom, and they do that. I mean, that's it's absolutely real. It could be real, but again, what you would say is, and there may be money in it. Who knows?
But there's a huge risk
There-
of going into something like that.
There you go. There you go. What about you, Kaylee? What do you want to be when you grow up? I hate that. I hate that.
I would probably want to like be doing hair and nails, but like for like if I could for like the movies or something.
Okay, so you would
Like,
want
be
to be a
really
makeup,
successful.
hair and makeup artist,
Yeah.
or
Probably not makeup, but.
and I think
hair
that's interesting
would be
because you
so-
said it under your breath, and I know that that's because I don't know if that's because that's what we drill into you as young people or not. I don't know if you caught it what she said. I'd like to do hair and makeup or what. I just want to be really successful. I heard you say really
Yeah.
successful.
Because you have your hairdressers and, you know, here and stuff, but I want to be like, you know, in Denver, or not even in, like, probably in Denver, but maybe in, like, California or something doing, like, you know, the big stars, you know, doing
So
all
is
their
it that you
hair.
want to be successful or that you want to be important?
I don't know. Isn't
So-
that both?
Well, successful would be like I'm doing something and I'm making a lot of money on it. I've got a good job and I've got a good life. Important would be like I was the hair and makeup artist on Gone with the Wind. Now I understand, but you know, I got an
Actually went back in
Academy
time.
Award.
I think
I-
I'd rather be successful. though.
Really? Okay. So that's something that says whatever I'm going to do, I want to make sure that I have a good life doing it.
Mhm.
Interesting.
I want to love what I'm doing.
Okay.
So-
But what if you just made minimum wage, but you loved it?
I'd probably keep doing it.
Okay.
I think if you love what you're doing and you could still make a living off of it, then you should do it.
What if you can't make a living off of it?
Well, then you're screwed. I don't know.
I think this is where I think this is it.
I don't know.
I think this is it right here, right? Isn't it? I mean, it's the idea of being told. No, I'm not saying shirk your responsibilities and just kick your family out of the. Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying there is a sense that nothing else can exist. If I can't make a living at it, then I'm dumping it. I can't, you know. Doesn't matter if I want to be a weapons expert on the side, you know, and I just want to have that knowledge or whatever. I can't make a living at it. Screw it. I can't divert my energy towards that because I have to do something that I can make a living at. And I think we are taught that. I'm not saying that that's not good advice. I'm saying that's the tangled web that can squash inspiration and motivation, is a sense of being told either by self-talk or by society that both can't exist.
You didn't give us your dream, D.
I would be doing exactly what I'm doing, except successful at it. I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to speak to schools. I want to speak at churches. I want to speak at. That's what exactly what I'm doing, just better at it. That's what it is. And so then the desperation and comes then when you're like, nobody wants me to come and speak. That type of thing. It's when you really, really want this to work out, to be successful, and you're in the midst of just trying to get that to be successful, there is always that thing that says you got to give it up because you got to figure out something that can pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
and there
well-
can't be both of them. There has to be one or the other.
And I think that's drilled into our brains like so young. Like when we're at school and
Yeah.
we're looking at colleges and stuff, and they're asking us, you know, what do you want to do? And
Uh-huh.
you say what you want to do, and they're like, well, can you make enough money doing that? And then you start to say, I don't know if I can make enough money doing that. So
Right.
then you change your mind, and I think that happens to almost every kid at school and
It
all
happens
over.
to every person.
yeah.
At some point in time. There are things in life that are inspiration killers. And I hate to say it, but school counselors are usually one of them. If you're a school counselor and you're listening,
Dream
that's I'm
killers.
sure that's not true, and I'm sure it's not you. But there is this reality and this fantasy that very rarely does the person come along and say, why can't that exist? You know, Jacob says it all the time, you know, the idea of, yeah, but why can't we at least try that? You know, can we try it? You know, no, because it doesn't work. How do we know? It just won't work. Can we try it and find out? And then sometimes you get to the point where you say, see, I told you it didn't work. And I wonder how we do that. I wonder how we then, and I'm going to leave it at this because we're over our hour, and I told Kaylee that we'd be an hour. And maybe we can talk about this later on. We've got some guests coming up. But I'm wondering how we as people can be inspirers to other people without squashing their dreams. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That the first thing out of our mouth isn't, yeah, but how are you going to make a living? You know what? People don't hire weapons experts, except on movie theaters. Or, a movie thing. I was about to make an Alec Baldwin joke, but it's probably not funny and too early.
Probably not.
It's probably
too on the nose.
It's probably too soon. It's too soon.
Back in a couple years and try.
Yeah, back in a couple years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess.
I just how do we be supportive of people who have dreams? I guess that's the question, and encourage their inspiration without flattening them.
I think it's important to know. Obviously, situations vary, but like, who are you to that person?
Yeah, that's true.
That's the first thing, and just really having a keen sense on like why, how does our relationship work, and who are we in this relationship, together? And I don't know. I think that's an important first step.
And one of the things that I think
through.
that was important about having Kaylee on is to say, okay, this is a 16-year-old, and this is what she dreams about, and this is what she thinks she's good at, and this is what inspires her, this is what makes her happy. But I think the real point that I wanted to make was she's no different than the 50-year-old. She's no different than the 30-year-old. When you graduate from high school, we don't look at you and say, oh, okay, you can't have dreams anymore. Now you got to be focused. Mm-hmm. It's like we sometimes say you're allowed to dream. It's your junior year. You got one more year of dreaming, then you got to go be somebody.
Yeah.
And I think we say that to more people than we think. And I think we believe that the older we get, it's over. Inspiration is gone. I'm a big Yellowstone. Zach likes Yellowstone. One of the greatest lines in Yellowstone. I'm a machine of quotes today.
I love it.
The line that he says is John Dutton's he's Kevin Costner. He's the old rancher. His son looks at him and says, "Have a good day, Dad." And he says, "No, son, I don't think I will. I don't think I have any of those left." And here's how much of a machine I am, and perhaps how sad my life is. That's what your mother said to me the other day. "You're going to have a good day." And I said, "You know what? I don't think I have any of those left. But my point is this. You get to those places. And obviously the answer is you're insane. Of course you do. You're not looking perspective-wise. You're not looking. All the things that we say to the 16-year-old, right? And I guess my encouragement is no matter what age, what people who are listening, you're always at an age to be inspired. There's always an opportunity to be a weapons expert, you may not get that because some of those things are hard. Hollywood's tough. Mm-hmm. There's lots of motivational speakers. I think Jake's got the best shot because I think that's a cool idea. There may not be a lot of people doing that. I don't
think that's a thing yet.
But you could make it.
Get on the ground floor of that
That's
thing.
right.
Man.
And so I think the important thing that I want to say is whatever age you are, that inspiration, if you take a moment, for just a moment, and say, what would I really like to do? What do I really want to do? What makes me happy? And then find a way to do that, either recreationally or professionally. And some things can happen and some things can't. I would want to be a Major League Baseball player. I just realized 2 weeks ago that's not happening.
Ain't gonna happen.
2 weeks ago, it was it. I was like, I don't think I'm going to do it. And it was a little bit down. But I do believe that that's true. I have trouble applying it in my own life.
Yeah,
It's true for everybody else, not for me, because I don't have any good days left.
I think with inspiration and turning it into something is having the roadmap on how to get there. Because
Yes.
if you want to be a hairdresser for Hollywood, I'm sure there's a road that if you follow, you can get close to that destination. But you need someone there to help you say, okay, if this is what you really want, you got to start now, and you got to start making these choices, and do X, Y, and Z. And I think that's, I guess, how you, instead of being a dream squasher, you become a dream builder, is laying out those steps, even if it's something small like losing weight, Jake's, I'm sure, got like a million steps. Okay, these are the roadblocks you need to start taking, and it's not going to be an overnight thing, but inspiring people to start taking those baby steps and following the road that you want to live on.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Playing,
be-
and
I
I
got
know
nothing
we're
better
long.
than that. I'm at the end of the show. I got
Yeah,
nothing
I
better
know we're
than that.
long, but I think you're right, Zach. Of this idea, I talked about it the other show of being playing by the rules of improv, man. Just being a yes and person, and yeah, of being a person that says, okay, yes, you want to be this, okay, let's add to that, yes, and now we're on this track.
Yeah.
What do we do next? We go to this school or try to do that, just
Yeah.
exactly what.
And
what
I
Zach
think that
said.
I think one of the things that I hate, and we'll end it on this. Last week we talked about finding inspiration daily, but being careful when you do find it. And I don't know, anybody who wants to check out our Facebook, you can do that. Just go to believeinthewhatif.com or .webnode.com. Find all that stuff: Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, in the janitor's closet blog. But I put that on Facebook. The idea of looking for inspiration daily, but being very careful when you find it, that it's leading you in the right path. And one of the things that I hate about inspiration and life building and all the things are the crazy non-helping platitudes that we have in life. And I'll give you an example of it. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. That's crap. I don't know why people say that. That's just, I get the basis of it. Dream and go after your dreams. But you may not get it. Not everybody gets to be the hairdresser, but go after it. Then if you don't get it. If you dream it, doesn't mean you can always achieve it. If you dream it, you can always dream it. And you can try to get it. But when you take it and move it back to what Zach was saying, the idea of, this is what I dreamt about, this is what I want to be, this is how I try and do it, and we'll see how this one ends up in the end. Because sometimes the decision isn't up to you. Sometimes you have to get hired. Sometimes you have to do this. And you can do everything right and still get the wrong result, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try and do everything right. It's that idea of, I took my dream as far as I could, and I'm happy with that. As opposed to, my parents told me that I could be whatever I wanted to be. And they lied to me. Because I'm not what I want to be. So I think inspiration is like that. Kaylee, thanks so much for coming on. You're an inspiration, and you're
Great.
You're not a typical junior, I don't think. Maybe you are, and if we are, then we're in better shape than I thought we were in as far as the world.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jake, good luck on that tour guide thing, brother.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would want that.
Oh, dude, they
I
would.
Sell it.
They would.
Hey,
I
going
would.
into a city where you know nothing to do.
Here's
You can make
here's
some
where
money
I'm
on
that. You're a fun guy,
gonna
like-
leave it, because I saw this. I don't know if you guys like Hallmark Christmas shows.
Gosh.
I love them because they're so predictable. I love them. Last one I watched, you know what her job was? She was trying to start this business, and she wasn't sure whether people would do it, but by golly, a lot of people did. She was a holiday decorator.
Oh, yeah.
If you wanted your house decorated for Christmas, boom, she came and did it.
That's
Halloween, whammo. 4th of July, I don't know if those exist. But I think you'd be good at that, Kaylee.
They should.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
And this is what it was. Some guy wasn't into Christmas, and his
Oh,
family
he
said,
was
"We're coming."
Yeah.
And
We'll
they're
never
like,
decorate.
never. And he said, "I need somebody." And of course, they fell in love because that's what happens. There was a
Why
bump
would they?
along the way.
What, did they like break up and then get
Yes,
back
there was a
together at
bump.
the end?
Yes,
We should have a
everything turned out
Predictable.
okay.
We should have a spin-off podcast where we just go through Hallmark movies.
Oh,
Just
And
review
just guess
them
what-
and talk
Review
about.
No, we should like start the beginning and then guess what's gonna happen.
we all know what's
Just
going to
what
happen.
happen.
But how?
Because
There's
happens every
always an end. There's a Christmas barn. Something happens. They
There's some
they
Christmas
fight.
barn.
They come together, and everything's okay, and we like that.
And at the end, we're very inspired.
We are, and because we believe that life can be that way. We
Yes.
know that it isn't, but it could be, just not for us. And that's the way that we see it. Jake, I hope you do good on it. Zach, I'm rooting for the weapons thing.
I just want like a spear to throw at things. To be honest,
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
be honest. I
What
just
you
want
want
some
though
sick
is
nunchucks.
people to come to you and say, Zach, I don't know how to throw this spear. Could you tell me? And you would say, of course, I'm a spear
course I
throwing
can tell you.
expert.
I don't need to show anyone. I just want to.
I know,
Oh, you
it's-
just
For
want to
his
have the knowledge.
I just want to have the skills.
Well, God, just Google it.
Well,
You
I
could
mean,
be that.
Boom!
Zach.
Problem solved.
Dude,
He's trying to
problem
point
solved.
you in
Just
the
read
way.
books. Get all the
I just-
information for
I just
yourself.
got to practice.
Well, do
I
it.
need some practicing.
Just do it, man. Just do it.
Well, I need the equipment too. You know.
That's true.
You
I
can
think you
make
can.
it.
And you know what? You can get the equipment.
You can
You
make
can do
it.
that.
I
You can
can.
make it. You can. Yours is totally doable.
My dream's not dead. That's all I'm saying.
I think everybody
That's right.
sitting at this table, their
doable.
thing is doable. Absolutely doable. Kaylee, thank you so much for coming on. Next week, I'm hoping we're going to have another niece of mine, another cousin of
Yes.
yours, another cousin-in-law, Caitlin Hutchison, who has just returned back to the United States from going on the world race. World race? World race. Is that what it's called, Jake?
Yeah, I think so.
The
Yeah.
world race. It was a 11-month, 10-month mission trip where
Oh,
she
wow.
went around the world. She went down to, I don't know, was she in South? I know she ended up in South Africa, but she was over in Europe. I think in Europe. I'm not sure. She went anywhere. Anyway, she went and she did ministry. And so we'll talk with her about what inspired her to do that and some of the inspirational things that she saw along the way and where she's going next. I'm hoping to have her on. We also got a few other people that were lining up, these guest inspirers that we have. So we encourage you to listen to us at the What If podcast. Again, you can follow us on YouTube. All you have to do is go down, subscribe, hit the massive subscriptions. Hit the like button so that you'll know when we have a podcast coming in up. And again, you go to believeinthewhatif.webnode.com. You can learn all about the What If Project, how we go into schools and talk to students about changing the world, as well as teachers, encouraging them in the hard job that they have in their entire life right now. So for everybody here at the What If Podcast, Kaylee, thank you. Jake, again, it's been fantastic. I hope that you can find that thing. I think you should start in Austin. Learn Austin
Austin's a
as
good
good
place.
as you can.
It's a good spot.
Next thing we know, Jake's going to be touring people around Austin. And,
Yeah, buddy.
and they're going to be like, "You want a good time in Austin? Call Jacob Hutchison.
Yeah.
He knows everything."
He knows the spots.
And he'll take you to a place where you can throw axe and swords from a guy who knows everything about weapons. His
Yo,
brother-in-law,
he
Zach
showed me how to use
Goldsberry.
nunchucks.
It is a
That's dope.
yeah. I can see it now. I can see it.
I would
It-
so do that.
I know it.
Sounds
I
like
would
so
too.
Much fun.
So if you want to, you can email us at believeinthewhatif@gmail.com and book Jacob for a tour around the United States and Zach for throwing swords and axes. No insurance necessary, and do it at your own risk.
If you get hurt, it's your fault. I'm just kidding.
Don't forget, follow that inspiration daily. Be careful when you find it, and never give up on what you believe in. So we'll see you next week.